Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining me here for today's Meal Solution Mondays class, where we're focusing on Flyer to Fork. I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. So my name is Charlotte Shine. I'm one of the Giant Company dietitians. So today with Flyer to Fork, what we do is we look at the weekly ad through a dietitian's perspective and try to create look through the weekly ad for different products to then create a better for you recipe inspiration. So that's what we're going to be doing today with today's weekly ad, which I want to do a poll really quick because I would love to know if anybody here has looked at the weekly ad for this week. So let me go ahead and answer that question. So have you looked at the weekly ad for this week? I'll give everybody a couple seconds to answer that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and end the poll and share the results. So it looks like a lot of you already have, but for those of you who have not looked at the weekly ad, you definitely want to do so this week. There's a lot of great stuff in there. So thanks for everybody for answering that question. So let's go ahead and get started. So what we're going to be doing in this Flyer to Fork class, just going to review how to find the weekly ad for those of you who are new here today or maybe don't know where to find the weekly ad. We're going to be looking at discussing how to find it, how to, once you look or find different products within the weekly ad, how to find a recipe with Savory, which is a great website for different recipes. And then we're going to bring it to life. And our featured recipe for today is a ground beef stroganoff, which I think is really delicious, especially for this cold weather, which I know where I live, I'm definitely experiencing that with feels like winter. All right, so how to find the weekly ad. So there's a variety of ways to find the weekly ad. The first being in your mailbox. If you have a community newspaper or some type of newspaper, sometimes it's tucked in there, so it's a paper copy. So you can find it in your mailbox. You, of course, can find it in our stores when you walk in. Usually it's right there. So you can, anytime you're in the grocery store, you can pick it up and look at it. Also, you can access it on our website, which is very convenient, and even more convenient, if you have the app, you can look at it on the app as well. So kind of can be with you on the go. So a variety of ways to view the weekly ad to view all the different bonus buys and sales for the week. So the first one, what I want to show is the website. So this is the Giant website, so you can see where the arrow is. How you look at the weekly ad is you would click on the weekly ad and then it pulls up, so you can view it in a print view, PDF view, which is how you would look at it as if you're looking at it as a paper. What am I trying to say? As a paper form. When you find it in the grocery store, that's the way it looks on the print view. And then you can also do it on the grid view as well. So you can of course find it on our website. And then I know one way that I always like to view it is on our app, which we always tend to have our phones with us all the time. So if you pull up the app and you look at the very bottom, you're going to click on the save button, and then that weekly ad will pop up for you, which is very nice and convenient. So again, variety of different ways to view the weekly ad for those of you who have not looked at it already. All right, so what I did with, of course, anytime I am trying to find a recipe on Savory, what I do is I look at the weekly ad and kind of look at some products that I want to kind of incorporate into a recipe. And then I go on our Savory magazine website. So you can see that is what the website looks right there. I'm going to type in ground beef, which is one of the things that was in the weekly ad or is in the weekly ad for this week. So I type in ground beef, and these are the different recipes that pulled up. So actually the first one was the recipe that we're going to be making today, which is a ground beef stroganoff. So you can see it's right there. And I also want to point out too, on the left-hand side, there's a variety of different ways that you can filter certain stuff. So if you type in ground beef and then you want a recipe that has a guiding star, you can pull it up. If you want something that's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, you can filter it that way. So there's a variety of different ways to filter different recipes. And again, there's so many different recipes on Savory. If you haven't been on there, I would highly recommend it. But for this one, the ground beef stroganoff is what we're going to make today, and is the first thing that came up when I searched. So this is our recipe for today, which is a really nice, balanced, comforting meal, especially when it's really cold outside. So this is the ground beef stroganoff. It does get 3 guiding stars. So guiding stars is our nutritional navigation program. So it's either going to be on recipes or products in stores. So the more stars that something has, the more nutritionally beneficial it is. So more vitamins, minerals, healthy fats, fiber, those types of things. So for the other thing I like about this recipe, it's very family friendly. So it has, kind of mild flavor, is creamy. Usually kids will like it. I also like that it's a one pan convenience, which means that, you make everything in the pan. So it's very easy cleanup. For this recipe, it has 4 grams of fiber in it and then 42 grams of protein per serving. So it'll help you to feel fuller longer, help you to feel satisfied. So I want to say before class, what I did is so in my skillet right here, I already did put in some canola oil and then the yellow onion and mushroom and sauteed that. And then also did or cooked down the ground beef. So we're going to be doing the other steps, but wanted to get or cook that a while just because it takes a little bit. And we want to make sure that our ground beef is cooked really well. So I did do that before class. We're going to be adding in some garlic, of course, all-purpose flour, which helps to thicken it up, and adding in some beef broth, milk, some dry sherry, which will give even more flavor, which will be super delicious. I did also already cook our egg noodles, probably like 6 or 7 minutes or so. So we're going to be putting those in, some sour cream. And then if you want to, you can always, or I have some parsley here and we're going to top it with that as well. So very nice, nice and easy, balanced, comforting meal. But 42 grams of protein. So definitely um, just nice for a meal and gets 3 guiding stars. And so we already went over this a little bit. So again, I already did the mushroom, onion, and then ground beef. And we're going to be adding in all the other stuff, which we'll go over in just a little bit. But one thing I wanted, so let me go here. So these are the recipe ingredients that are in the weekly ad. So when I was looking through it, I know that especially for our family, we tend to eat, a lot of that lean ground beef. So I have ground beef, which is in the weekly ad, yellow onions, which of course can be incorporated into a lot of different recipes. And it's nice. So this is the 3 pound bag. So you can of course use it for this recipe. So this recipe is just 1 yellow onion, but you can use the onions for a variety of other different recipes. And then our brand all-purpose flour was also in there. And of course you can use that for other recipes as well. So these are the 3 ingredients that were in the weekly ad, and then we're going to be using in today's recipe. So I also wanted to review the benefits of beef, so because beef has a lot of great nutrition in it. So from nutrition facts, so for a 3 ounce serving, which really just fits into the palm of your hand, but so vitamin B12. So just for a 3 ounce serving has more than 100% of your daily value. So this helps to give you energy. Also has selenium in it, so almost gives you 50% of the daily value. This helps to protect our cells from damage. Also good source of zinc, so 53% of daily value, so helps with a healthy immune system, which I know that I appreciate this year with all the germs and everything going around. We already know that it's a really great source of proteins. We know that protein helps with muscle repair, and muscle growth. It helps you to feel fuller longer, so 51% of the daily value, and then also niacin as well. So niacin helps with energy production and metabolism. So those are a few of the nutrition facts for beef, but just wanted to review them. So a lot of great nutrition because we're going to be using ground beef in our recipe. I also wanted, so the beef stroganoff is a balanced meal because it has, of course, the ground beef, which is your protein, your egg noodles, and then the mushroom which is a vegetable. But you can also do some more vegetable pairings with this meal to make or create even more balance, help with blood sugar regulation. So we have our Taste of Inspirations chopped salad kit. This is the Caesar, but we have a lot of other different flavors. And of course, you could saute or make any of these other ones, which the Brussels sprouts, broccoli, and green beans are in the weekly ad as well, which I'll be going over later. But so a variety of different vegetable pairings that you can have as a side with this ground beef stroganoff, which I will say one of my favorites is the Brussels sprouts. Always like a good Brussels sprout. But anyways, just giving you ideas to make this meal even more balanced with adding some vegetables. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Alrighty. All right, so with our ground beef stroganoff, so let me just review again what I did before class. So these are the egg noodle soups that I've already made before. So this is just our brand wide egg noodles. So I cooked these for about, let's say 6 or 7 minutes. You don't need to boil them for too long. So I have this in my pot right here. So these are ready to go. So this is the egg noodles. And let me remove this. This is already It's good steam on it. So you can see here, I've already done the ground beef, mushroom, and onion, and cooked that down because I want to make sure the ground beef, you always want to make sure ground beef is cooked well just because it has more surface area and you just want to make sure that it heats well. So the first thing that we're going to do with this, let me turn up the heat. We're going to be adding in our garlic. So the garlic that I'm using today, so you can either do our brand, Nature's Promise is the minced garlic, which I always have in my refrigerator just because it's really nice because you don't have to cut up garlic and it's all ready to go. So for this recipe, it said 3 garlic cloves, so which is around about 3 teaspoons or so. So you can hear the sizzling a little bit, so you can see I've already measured it out. So I'm just going to add this in, spatula. Let me turn this heat up a little bit more. And we're just going to cook this down about 30 seconds or so, just until you can kind of smell the garlic and it's, becoming more fragrant. Let me actually chop this up a little bit. Okay. All right, so just moving this around. Let me actually put this back on. And so the other things that we're going to be adding in, so we're just going to let that cook about 30 seconds. And then we're going to be adding in some reduced sodium beef broth. So we just have our brand reduced sodium beef broth. Also some low-fat milk. So of course I have that back here, so half a cup. And I can hear the sizzling, which is good. And then we're also going to be incorporating some sherry in here too. So which you don't need a whole lot, but it really gives some nice flavor. All right, so I can hear this sizzling. So 30 seconds, and then just probably is 30 seconds already. And we're going to be adding in some flour. So let me give this a good stir. So I can already smell that garlic, which is good. So next we're going to be adding in 3 tablespoons of flour. This helps for the thickening process. Actually turn this down a little bit. Let's see. All right. So we're going to add this flour, some 3 tablespoons. We're just going to mix this around for about 30 seconds or so. And again, this just will help with kind of thickening it up. Because with beef stroganoff, that's kind of what it's known for, is kind of that thickening. All right, so just mixing this around. So while that's cooking or so for 20 or more seconds, we're going to measure out our beef broth, which is 1 cup. So I'm going to get my liquid measuring cup. So I'm going to do 1 cup. Then we'll measure out a half cup of milk. Let's stick this over here. So this is done. All right. So I can already tell it's kind of thickening up just a little bit. So we're going to add in slowly our beef broth. All right, let's go ahead and measure out a half cup of milk. Turn this back up a little bit. All right, so we're going to add in milk. And then just baking case, so 2 tablespoons of sherry. Let's go ahead and measure this. gonna mix it up. All right. Set this over here. Let me just give this a good mix. And so we're going to be doing this for about, I can set my timer too, but for about 2 minutes or so, just until everything heats up and thickens. And then we remove it from heat and add our other ingredients. So I can already tell it's be thickening up. All right, so let me actually put this on. And let me just set my timer for 2 minutes. Okay. So I don't know if anybody usually cooks with mushrooms, but mushrooms are a really nice source of vitamin D. So mushrooms are always a nice thing to include in any recipe. And so the mushrooms that we're using today, that I used are the pre-sliced white mushrooms, the 16-ounce package, and they already are pre-washed, but I did wash them also ahead of class and then before I sauteed them with the onion. All right, so I can hear that this is sizzling. All right, so this is good. So this is definitely thickening up. So another minute or so. All right, so let me put this back on. I grab my hot pan. I'll bring over these egg noodles. And so the other thing that I did too, before classes, I already washed, and you don't necessarily need to cut parsley, but they can be a little bit of larger pieces. So we're going to top that at the end. All right. I'm going to give this another stir. Actually, while this is thickening up, I'm going to measure out 3/4 of a cup of sour cream. And I was also thinking you'll probably do a good swap for this, possibly with plain Greek yogurt to give even more of a protein pop. Oh, there's my timer. So a swap for Greek yogurt if you wanted to. The other thing I was thinking too, if you want to add a little bit more fiber in this, you could also, there's egg noodles that are whole grain, egg noodles that have a little bit more fiber in them. And then the other thing that you could do too, if you wanted to add even more vegetables in here, some recipes, you can also include peas if you like peas. That's kind of another way to get even more vegetables. All right. So I'm going to kind of turn this down a little bit. Let me go get my measuring thing to do 3/4 of a cup. Let's grab a spoon. All right. Let's measure out 3/4 of a cup. So this ground beef stroganoff is looking good. It's thickening up. All right, so we're doing 3/4 cup of sour cream. All right, so I'm going to turn this down and remove it. Put this over here. This on my hot pan. So you can see here it's kind of thickening up a little bit, which is good, and it'll even thicken up more once we put in our sour cream. I'm just going to add in just a little bit of pepper too. And you can add in salt if you want, but I'm just going to do a little bit of pepper. We'll put in this. So our sour cream, and then we'll give it a good mix. All right. Grab a little spoon. We'll go ahead and mix this. So if you want to make this ahead of time at the beginning of the week, you could. This usually makes for a really nice leftover meal. and usually lasts in the refrigerator for about 3 to 4 days or so. This will thicken up too after it's cooling down. All right, so just trying to get the sour cream throughout this. All right, that is looking good. So we're gonna grab a bowl. Just gonna put this in the bowl and then just add a little bit of parsley right on top. All right, so here's our parsley, which I already, when I forgot to put the egg noodles in. Was not thinking straight. Okay. All right, so let's put the egg noodles in. Just like most important part. Okay. All right, let's try this again. All right. So now let's stir this up. There we go. Sorry about that. I must be very hungry and I'm just ready to eat this. Okay. All right, good. Now this is looking more like that ground beef stroganoff. And with the addition of sherry, will really make all these flavors pop. But again, if you want to add in some more vegetables, you could always do peas. I guess you could even do carrots, or you can even do a vegetable side. So Brussels sprouts, green beans, or even broccoli, or a salad kit as well. All right. Let's give this a good stir. All right, there we go. All right, so now where would I put my bowl? Here we go. All right, so this is our ground beef stroganoff with noodles. I'm just gonna put a little bit of parsley right on top. All right, so just like that. So there's our ground beef stroganoff. So you can see super easy to make. And if you do want to make it ahead of time, usually lasts in the refrigerator for about 3 to 4 days or so, but super convenient for leftovers. So for this week, we add those three ingredients that we mentioned. So ground beef, onion, and then flour. You can always use in this recipe. All right. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing. So thank you. Take care.